So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, wherever you happen to be in the world today. Of course, this is Coffee Talk or at Coffee Talk Live if you wanted to find us on YouTube or Prepper University on YouTube, as well as Coffee Talk Chat or at Coffee Talk Chat on Twitter. Again, don't know if anybody's actually finding us on Twitter, but then Fistful of Radio, that is fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta Monday through Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and Friday at noon as we get ready to talk about what's going on in the world today, talk about the news or some of the blurbs in the news, some things you may know about and some things you may not, and just giving an opinion and having a bit of a conversation with those that are able to join us in the live portion on YouTube. And of course, I try to go through as many of the comments as I can. I'll read them out for those of you who are listening and not able to watch so that you can keep up with what's going on in the conversation. And joined today, for those of you who can see, by Miss Granny Smith there, sitting in the chair, been following me around all day long. It's kind of funny how that happens with animals, where suddenly the bulb comes on and they realize, hey, I want you to be my best friend. And then they're underfoot. I swear I almost kicked her like 20 times today because she's underfoot constantly. And we'll go ahead and acknowledge some of the people that have joined us in here today. I see Helter is here, Dragon, Monkey, Jack, Preparedness Veteran, Stuart is here, Bulldozer, D-Lo is here. Bulldozer says he can't stay long. That's all right. I'm glad you're able to pop in. Stuart says YouTube is making it difficult to watch. I've managed to cobble together a solution. Really? Are they giving you a hard time? They give everybody a hard time. Cruising is here, joining us today. Oh, by the way, I don't know if anybody did this or not. The P.O. box. Did someone send something to me? If, whether you're catching it later on or whether you're on now, I got a prompt that something was at the post office box and went to pick it up, and apparently it's already been picked up, but not by me. And I wanted to throw it out there. If anybody sent something to my P.O. box, you might want to check on that because they said they'll investigate it. This was Wednesday. It was picked up at 11:05, and I'm like, I don't have it. So they said they're going to check and see if somebody maybe, got a slip in the wrong box by accident and decided to keep it, and which can happen. Mistakes happen. I know in the last like 3 years or so, twice somebody has put something in my box, or I've gotten a slip or a package, and I'm like, this isn't mine, but I turned it in. But that's me. Not everybody is going to be that straight about it, unfortunately. Where are we here? Gary Smith is here. Donna is here. Thanks for joining us today as we get ready to jump into the news, take a look at what's going on in the world around us. And now, oh, by the way, I got in trouble yesterday. Apparently, I wasn't supposed to talk about that incident in Maine. ScrewTube got angry at me over that. Just wanted to say, so they gave me a strike on both channels for mentioning that incident in Maine. I think some of you know what I'm talking about. That person of interest who is still at large and they are not able to find. So I got a strike for that. I got in trouble. Anyway, this comes from Bloomberg. Oh, and Rodney is here. Rodney is joining us this afternoon. Or it's afternoon where I am, not necessarily where Rodney is in New Zealand. Bloomberg says Iran warns the U.S. won't be spared if Israel-Hamas war spreads. Really? Well, it's already spreading because the United States is already doing airstrikes in Syria. So, yeah, that's going on. So Iran's foreign minister warned that the U.S. won't escape unaffected if the Hamas-Israel war turns into a broader conflict, firing back after the Biden administration said Iran was ultimately to blame for a recent spate of drone attacks on American forces. Foreign Minister Hossein Amiradolahan delivered the threat in a speech to the United Nations General Assembly, speaking in English as he accused the U.S. of overseeing genocide against the Palestinian people. Today in New York, where are we? Today in New York and the United Nations, I say frankly to the American statesmen who are now managing the genocide in Palestine that we do not welcome an expansion of the war in the region. Amira Balodahan said, but I warn, if the genocide in Gaza continues, they will not be spared from these fires. The foreign minister spoke at an emergency General Assembly meeting to discuss the Israel-Hamas war. A group of Arab nations circulated a draft resolution that would call for an immediate ceasefire. Now, it's really interesting watching the hypocrisy with that statement. You're concerned about the so-called Palestinian people, but you're not letting them come to across your border. You're not going to help them except to send money down there and munitions down there so that they can continue to get themselves killed. Then he wants to talk about genocide. Now, this is an interesting point, and this is something a lot of people may not be aware of. And I'll look it up. I should have looked it up before I got into this, but I didn't read this article ahead of time. I want to say maybe 10 years ago, Hamas and another faction of so-called Palestinians in the Gaza were at war with each other. Okay. And it was the same kind of thing that you saw when Hamas invaded Israel, where, the execution of babies and children, the raping and murdering of women, the hanging people, drowning people, setting people on fire, all the crazy stuff that you're seeing now. Hamas and this other, I can't remember the name of this, maybe somebody knows what I'm talking about and can tell me the name of this other group. Hamas and this other group were doing to each other. Hamas won. That other group no longer exists. They were subjected to genocide and they are gone. You didn't see that in the news. You didn't hear any outrage about that, did you? Just wanted to throw that out there. And again, you're concerned about these people, but you're not going to let them cross your border back, because remember, they are all they're all refugees from all over the Middle East. The so-called Palestinians, they don't want them. They don't want them back. Jack says, I wonder how many sleeper cells Iran has in the U.S. A lot. A lot, I am sure. And then Dragon says, I wonder if these wars will continue if the presidents or world leaders were required to be on the battlefield and fight with the soldiers. No, I doubt it. There are some who would be bold enough, but not in the Western world, not many. Helter says, I wonder what they're playing at. Iranian proxies have been regularly attacking U.S. bases this month. True. And they're actually trying to drag them into war. How could they possibly benefit from this? It's all theater. They're talking. They're trying to. They always talk tough. Or remember Hussein? It will be the mother of all wars if you invade Iraq. Yeah, it will. Rodney says Fatah was the other faction. I think you might be right. I can't remember, but they were exterminated. They're gone. Their people are gone. They were exterminated, man, woman, and child. Hamas won that infighting with that other faction. And barely a blurb in the news. Nobody gave a shit. They didn't care. They did not care. But, because both of those factions, those tribal groups, wield no true power. So who gives a crap about them? You get my point. So, but this is genocide. This is genocide. All your refugees from all over the Middle East that you want to call Palestinians is genocide. Yeah, okay, Iran. Iran. Go ahead and get yourself blown up. And like I said, I know that, for example, in Syria now, there have been raids in Syria where the U.S. has been counterattacking. And the U.S. ordered by Biden. Biden ordered that. Biden may be wishy-washy with everything else, but he's not above slamming the Middle East. No president has been. They don't like the Middle East. Nobody does. Even the Middle Easterns don't like each other, as was pointed out just now with with Hamas, and Rodney says Fatah is the other group, exterminating each other. They're always fighting. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. It's not going to stop. It's not going to stop. It's a tribal thing, and the West doesn't understand. Oh, by the way, I had mentioned it yesterday. See, now that's a carrot. That's a carrot. Look how fat that is. And it's not cut off. It's just fat. That is a carrot. That's not like what you see at the supermarket, okay? Yeah, I'll eat these suckers raw right out of the ground. That's a carrot. I get a lot of these doubles that split root like that. I get a lot of those. See, that's a carrot. It even smells good. Nice earthy smell. I like that. As we move along here, and this is what I was just talking about. Moving into the next story here, which is coming from Reuters. U.S. carries out strikes against Iranian targets in Syria, according to the Pentagon. Of course they are. Why not? They've been attacking us. It says the U.S. military on Thursday carried out strikes against 2 facilities in eastern Syria used by Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and groups it backs, the Pentagon said, in response to a spate of attacks against U.S. forces in both Iraq and Syria. As tensions soar over the Israel-Hamas conflict, U.S. and coalition troops have been attacked at least 12 times in Iraq and 4 times in Syria by Iran-backed forces. A total of 21 U.S. forces have suffered minor injuries, the vast majority of them traumatic brain injuries. If it's a traumatic brain injury, then how is it minor? These precision self-defense strikes are a response to a series of ongoing and mostly unsuccessful attacks against the U.S. personnel in Iraq and Syria by Iranian-backed militia groups that began on October 17th. The U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin said in a statement, the strikes were ordered by President Joe Biden. Joe Biden did something. Wow. These Iranian-backed attacks against U.S. forces are unacceptable and must stop, Austin said in the statement. If attacks by Iran's proxies against U.S. forces continue, we will not hesitate to take further necessary measures to protect our people. The United States has occasionally carried out retaliatory strikes against Iranian-backed forces in the region after they attacked American forces. In March, the U.S. military carried out multiple airstrikes in Syria against Iran-aligned groups that it blamed for drone attacks that killed an American contractor. So, yeah, there we go. There we go. And also, part of the problem here, and it's a tough concept for Western leaders and Western military people to grasp, is that they have no 2 ways about attacking any target, especially a soft target. And then we always try to be surgical about it. The West is always going to go after factories, military installations, government buildings, things like that. But they'll attack any damn thing. The easier the target, the better. And it's hard for the West to get their minds around that sometimes. As I go through a few more of these comments. Helta says, I wonder what they're playing at. Iranian proxies have been regularly attacking. I think I read that one, did I? It says, regularly attacking U.S. bases this month. Are they actually trying to drag them into a war? How could they possibly benefit from this? Rodney's, let me see. Trying to catch up. Gary says, yes, those are carrots. Yep, they're carrots, all right. Rodney says, growing your own vegetables is a good idea, not just for the better nutritional value, but because of the crazy high food prices. Yeah, you saw those 2 shorts I put up yesterday from the supermarket, some of you, I think. Jack says, Iran does have a rather large military, so a full-on war with Iran might get messy fast because they won't play fair. And Monkey says, side topic, but you mentioned how modern Palestinians aren't the Palestinians of the past. This is like how Germanic Dutches claim to be part of the Holy Roman Empire, when in reality, it continued. Reality They were Germanic and nowhere close to being Romans or Latin. And Urban Angst is here. He says, hello from the coffee shop. Preparedness said some of my comments are being censored. No, not appearing. Really? Again, there you go. That's ScrewTube for you. ScrewTube for you. You might have to alter a couple of the words, and I'll try to figure out what you're talking about if you put it up. That's why that one guy, all people, writes everything in code. Although it's so garbled sometimes, it's hard to pick out what he's saying. But that's the unfortunate reality of dealing with bots and the AI from the powers that be, from Google and ScrewTube, trying to force you to play nice in the comments section, or trying to jam me up for the things that I say or whatever, as if I'm doing something wrong. But yeah, there you go. And again, Iran may have a full-on actual military, but it's not going to do them much good if they're pounded by the Air Force for 30 days straight, like what happened in Iraq. By the time the U.S. military started putting boots to the ground in Iraq, there was nothing left to do. Nothing left to do. And that's the whole purpose behind air superiority. That's part of the reason why Trump wanted to start a space force, because that's the next step in air superiority. The further out you can get, and the more distance you can give to from your enemy, the more effective you can be. Now, this story I just thought was really, really interesting. I thought it was funny. This is humor at its best, or hypocrisy at its best, coming up here. A couple more comments really quick. Urban says there's been a lot of YouTube censorship. It's automatic. You can tell if the edit and delete option is missing. It then disappears in a few moments and no one sees it. And Jack says their main threat is sinking a U.S. carrier. But this story, this is, and I can't stand activists and protesters. I really can't, because they're such frauds. And this is showcased here by Fox News. Anti-Israel protester calls for Nike boycott, but her sneakers tell a different tale. I think this is hilarious. Anti-Israel protester called for a boycott of Nike while wearing sneakers bearing the apparel brand's iconic checkmark logo. Actually, it's a swish. It's not a checkmark. We call on you. This is a quote. We call on you to boycott Starbucks, McDonald's, Disney, Nestle, Coca-Cola, Pizza Hut, Burger King, Pepsi, Domino's, Papa John's, Nike, CeraVe, and Airbnb, Subway, Walmart, and Dasani, the protester said in a video posted to X on Wednesday. The list goes on. This demonstration should make our demands clear. And you see the people out here screaming and yelling, crying and carrying on, whatever. But here we go. The anti-Israel protester who spoke at San Diego State University during a rally wore jeans, a black hoodie, and what appeared to be Nike Air Force One shoes as she demanded the boycott. The apparel company hasn't issued a public statement about the Israel-Hamas war. I love it. Although a CEO emailed staff a week after condemning attacks in Israel and the lives lost during the assault, and Israel's response, pro-Palestinian and pro-Israeli protesters alike have broken out across the U.S. following Hamas's deadly October 7th ambush that led the Israeli government to declare war. You know that part. But this is what I mean when I talk about how activists are a bunch of morons. They're either frauds that are getting paid to pretend to be outraged, or they're frauds who think they're going to benefit by pretending to be outraged. And the fact that she's calling for Nike to be boycotted, and Nike hasn't even made a statement about this, while wearing Nike sneakers, is just classic. It's classic. There should be an award for that. There should be a trophy that you can give out to people for being world-class assholes. and making fools of themselves. I love it. That is hilarious. That is hilarious. DIY says, do you think barrage balloons could be of use today against aircraft? Ah, I don't think so. They're too fast, too stealthy. Rodney says some of the protesters here in New Zealand seem to be professionals paid to go out and screech in support of Islamist nut bars. Savage Lee says, I've boycotted Nike since 1986, made in China with slave labor. Little Chan spent sewn her fingers together so Nike can sell basketball shoes for far more than they are worth. And Zolo says they're clowns. Yeah, it's hilarious. Nature Nerd says, what other army warned civilians to evacuate for 3 weeks before they invade? Preparedness says, these street mouthpieces are idiots, haven't got a clue what they're talking about and never been anywhere near the Middle East. Urban says it's like the Stop Oil protesters who were dressed in everything made from plastic. Yeah, I know it. Or inks, anything inking or any lettering on their clothing, the inks on their signs, the paint, all made from oil. There's so much that can be said. Anything plastic, anything rubber. There's very little that uses actual natural rubber, because rubber is like one of the few fabrics that can be either natural or artificially made. So that, plastic is mostly synthetic rubber made from polymers, made from oil. They don't know what they're talking about. They're cosmetics. A lot of them are artificially oil based. Yeah, you know what I mean? It's incredible. You all know what I'm talking about. Zolo is like, yeah, clown award. Savage Lee making a correction there, and Zolo says, last thing you want is to be caught up in crowds as well. But I thought that was funny and stupid. It's like, you don't even know what you're talking about. And calling for boycotts. And some of these places, Starbucks, I don't think Starbucks has made a comment either. I know the union for Starbucks, the Starbucks' union, that's not actually part of Starbucks, but you know how unions work, said something pro-Palestinian and got in trouble. And then Starbucks said, hey, that's their opinion. We don't have a comment. So Starbucks hasn't said anything. Has McDonald's said something? Or Disney? Disney should be boycotted just because they're evil. I'm just saying. I don't know if half of these companies have actually made a public statement. But you want them boycotted. Hey, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Sean says years ago, protesters were trying to block an oil rig in their plastic boats. There you go. And Jack says these leftists don't even realize that a majority of the people in Gaza who they think they're supporting would actually hate them. They should learn about Sharia law. And that's an argument that I've made plenty of times on this channel, just talking about the whole subject, is that, especially made fun of them last week, the Queers for Palestine movement. Try that over there. They hate you. They hate you more than us. If they came here and took over tomorrow, you would die first. Okay? They do not like you. They do not like you. Nature Nerd says oil is the third most common liquid on Earth behind lava and water. So we're never going to run out of it. And it's probably made a lot faster than we think. And Booger says, sorry, I'm late. Had a safety briefing. Do you feel safer now? Is it going to help? Are you more protected because of that meeting? They used to have the safety meeting every day at UPS. They'd have a 5-minute required safety meeting on our 10-minute break. And I'm like, I would refuse to attend. And they try to write me up because you can only ditch so many. And I was like, it's on my break. I'm not going. You want to have a safety meeting? That's company time. How come the union never spoke up about that? Their stupid safety meeting. Oh, well, make sure you bend your knees if you pick up something heavy. Yeah, blow me. What a waste of time. Anyways, moving on. Moving on to the American Insider. The American Insider just confirming more of what we already knew. Over 250,000 inadmissible aliens released into the U.S. And Boogers confirms, he says, no, it was just a waste of time. I don't think I've ever been to a company meeting that wasn't. Boogers, I absolutely empathize with you. Anyways, the CBP One app, expanded under the Biden administration, has allowed hundreds of thousands of inadmissible aliens to be released into the U.S., according to documents obtained by the House Committee on Homeland Security. Are you going to do anything about it, or are you just going to release it to the press? The app, and we talked about this a few weeks back, actually, which allows foreign nationals to schedule asylum appointments, saw 95.8% of inadmissible aliens released into the country with a notice to appear in immigration court. Okay. Data shows that individuals from various countries, including Russia and Venezuela, had high release rates ranging from 88 to 97%. Hundreds of thousands of inadmissible aliens, including from hostile nations like Russia, have been released into the interior of the United States, a press release from the House Homeland Security Committee explains. Secretary Mayorkas has utterly abused the CBP One app. In his request for open borders, Representative and Homeland Security Committee Chairman Mark Green charged. These numbers are proof that Mayorkas' operation is a smokescreen for mass release of individuals into the country who would otherwise have zero claim to be admitted. The release of these individuals raises concerns about potential security risks. It's a little late for that, don't you think? It should take a subpoena threat, or it shouldn't, take a subpoena threat from Congress to get these answers, but we're going to keep fighting for the truth, he added. Yeah, you can get the truth, but what's going to be done about it? There's more than 250,000 of them, inadmissible. So, and we talked about that, like I said, a few weeks back. That CBP One app is an app that helps you schedule flying into the United States as an undocumented illegal alien, and you get off the plane and you're supposed to have an interview to grant asylum status. And what they're suggesting is here that when these people flew into the United States, that 95.8% of them, nearly 96%, would not have qualified for asylum, but then they cut them loose anyway instead of sending them back. That's what they're saying. And that number has come out to more than 250,000 people in the last 2 years since the CBP One app was put on under the Biden administration. That's what they're telling you. Unbelievable. And John has joined us. Thanks for popping in here today, John. Loyal Tangi says it really has to do with the company trying to remove as much liability as possible if you get hurt. Yeah, I know. I know that it's what it's for, but it's still worthless. That way that no matter if something goes wrong, they can sit there and say, well, we told them, we had a meeting about it. Nature Nerd says, shouldn't we be skeptical of Russians crossing the border considering the war? Why can't we deport Russians and Chinese like they do their illegal immigrants? Ask Biden. Ask Biden, because we have that open door policy. There's a lot of theories about why they're doing it, so they can give them work permits, so we can tax them, so that we can register them to vote. There's a million explanations. There's a bunch of conspiracy theories on the subject. Who knows what the real bottom line is, so that they can force an undermining of American values and crumble society, so that they can make new laws to jam us up even further and rebuild it. There's the whole 15-minute city thing. There's a lot of reasons that people will kick around. But yeah, again, it'd be cheaper to throw them all out. It would be cheaper to give them all the boot, send them back where they came from, which is what should be done. Preparedness says, for now and forever, it's down to damage limitation. Do the Native American Indians have any influence in these illegals? And Booger says, yeah, if it wasn't a federal one. Okay. Herman says, a nation can survive its fools and even the ambitions, but it cannot survive treason from within. An enemy at the gates is less formidable, for he is known and carries his banner openly. Yeah, that's where you get that whole fifth column concept from. Booger says it was just common sense, stuff like normal. Yeah. So this is something you could have guessed. And they're going to keep talking about it and keep talking about it. And they want a subpoena, and they want to be brought before Congress, and they want people to answer questions. But what good is it going to do? What is it going to change? Who's going to be held accountable? Is anybody going to sit in jail? You know, what's going to come of it? What's going to come of it? Sean says giving them work permits and taxing them seems like the most logical reason. That's what I'm guessing. And Zolo says last time I heard it was 300,000 a month and substantially increasing every month, so it's crumbling our nation. Food banks can't keep up as well. No, they can't. But you could give them work. You could give them work because Lord knows there's no jobs available. Or, they could do laundry. They could do laundry. Just to give you an idea of how much this is costing everybody. This comes from the New York Post. Hung out to dry, New York City spending millions to clean migrants' laundry. To clean their laundry. It says this gives new meaning to money laundering. New York City is shelling out millions of dollars to wash dirty clothes for migrants in local shelters, including a $1.1 million emergency cleaning contract awarded to Queens-based CRC management company for people in shelters it runs, that was revealed in city records on Thursday. The free laundry service for migrants is leaving New Yorkers hung out to dry, local leaders said. Oh, you gotta love it. That's cute. Taxpayers are being taken to the cleaners. Excellent, said Staten Island Borough President Vito Fasella. Here we are providing laundry services to people who arrived here last week. That's a lot of dough to spend on laundry. We should be spending the money elsewhere. It's one more reason the migrant crisis has to come to an end. While a total figure spent by the city on migrant laundry was not known, yeah, they know. It's at least in the 8-figure range. Oh, sorry, an ad made it skip. It's at least in the 8-figure range, as earlier this year a $10.5 million cleaning contract was awarded by the health and hospital agencies to Sodesco Laundry Service. Millions of dollars of additional spending on laundry services are tucked into other contracts. I'd like to see an exact number. A tent for laundry at a migrant shelter in Queens. The city has spent millions on washing dirty clothes for migrants, according to Records AP photo. So here's one of those tents, and then you see the laundry machines, washer dryer combos lined up here. Millions and millions. Washing machines at the Humanitarian Emergency Response and Relief Center on Randall's Island. 4 other Department of Homeless contracts totaling $23 million are for laundry services as well as staffing and security. During recent testimony before the city council, Adams administration officials overseeing services for migrants suggested laundry bills could run into the tens of millions of dollars. The city has paid out $2.26 billion since the influx of migrants arrived in the Big Apple in the spring of 2022. Of that total, $1 billion has covered the cost of services and supplies, including laundry, registration, transportation, and security costs. Migrants moving luggage after a shelter was closed down on October 23rd. I guess that's this picture. The state and city are treating us like chumps, Queens Councilman Robert Holden said. We have to do our laundry. Migrants should have to go to the laundromat like the rest of us. They should do their own laundry. Well, if they went to the laundromat like everyone else, it would still get paid for by tax dollars. Tens of millions of dollars in laundry. Oh my God. Preparedness says they could start by repairing the potholes. That'd be nice. Because, you would think that tax money would go to infrastructure. Monkey says it's funny how these big cities can puke out millions for illegals, but zero for actual citizens and taxpayers. Joey Biden is here. He says we're witnessing America's collapse. Dragon said one of Mayor Adams' cronies is making bank off this laundry cleaning contract. Things have gotten so bad that I wouldn't be surprised if New York City citizens would pretend to be a refugee to get free stuff. Joey says my family has been taxed out of millions of dollars and never got a thing out of it. My grandfather fought the Japanese imperialists. Oh, I'm getting tongue-tied today. Nature Nerd says Americans in apartments have to pay $2 per laundry load. I think that's less than I had to pay in Boston. Jack says seems these Democrats who wanted this didn't think it through. When do they ever think through? They don't. They don't, because they expect it to be someone else's problem. Again, it's easy to spend someone else's money. It's easy to take tax dollars and just spend it and not worry about it, and then just raise taxes or create another regulation or write more speeding tickets or something to screw people over. Preparedness says France is a good example of how things will look for us all in the future. Absolute chaos. Zolo says, don't forget they get transported in luxury buses too. And Helter says, I wish someone did my laundry for me and paid for it. Hell, I've been paying bundles and taxes and paying for my own laundry all my life. I guess I'm a sucker. We all are, Helter. I'm sorry. Preparedness says, when there is no penalty for illegal activity, including illegal invasion, this is the result. And Nostalgic Podblast is here. He says, programming note, Coffee Talk with David Eon will be on Fistful of Radio today at 3 p.m. Atlanta time. 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the noon broadcast. I did not know that. Thank you, Nostalgic. And Joey says, Peristian. Oh, I see. Paristan and Londonistan. Yeah, that's some of the terms for it now. But tens of millions of dollars in laundry contracts, and they're not trying to tell you how much they're actually spending, but have already spent. Where was that number? Was it $2.26 billion in tax money since spring of 2022, just on immigrants, illegal immigrants, aka migrants in New York? That's embarrassing. That's embarrassing. That's your tax dollars at work. And again, Mayor Adams working both ends. On the one hand, saying that they can't handle it and it's not fair, and tell them to stop coming here and please don't come to New York. And on the other hand, trying to get them jobs, trying to push through for these migrants to get working visas, and then trying to push through regulation so that if you are legally working in the U.S. as a non-citizen, you can vote if you've had the visa for at least 30 days. So Adams playing both ends. Oh, Nostalgic says it was on at noon as well. Okay. Zolo says, I lowered my American Dream standard just to gas in the tank and money in my pocket. And Joey said, Democrats claim to be a party of peace, but they've started war in the Middle East, Ukraine, and soon Taiwan. Yeah, well, peace is a buzzword. Peace is a buzzword, and it's easy to say peace when you never have to go to war. It's easy to instigate a war or ask for funding for it or send men and women to die for it if you never have to set foot in that country. It's the same argument as with taxes. It's easy to spend someone else's money when you'll never be held accountable for it, and it's easy to create a war or to send your country to war when you'll never have to fight it. When you'll never have to get that telegram. I don't think they do that anymore. But once upon a time, Western Union was almost feared when you saw the Western Union telegram officer coming and knocking on your door. People were terrified because they were the official courier for delivering that your son, daughter, husband is MIA. Unbelievable. Now, this one we saw was coming. This next one coming up. I'll run through a couple more comments here really quickly. John says taxation is extortion, actively not a surprise. I know I gotta put that on a t-shirt. It says I'm gonna do that. Taxation is extortion. And another one I wanted to do was it's no longer Great Britain, it's now mediocre Britain. Great Britain has fallen. Preparedness says the knock at the door. That's right. The knock at the door. And Nature Nerd says at war again with Syria. Yeah. Bombing Syria. We talked about that a little bit earlier. Urban says pretty soon there'll be increasing numbers of undocumented migrants pretending to be Palestinian and claiming that they were actually the indigenous people before even the natives. Yeah, I know. Or they'll claim that they're from some Indian tribe in the United States. Zolo says I would wear that t-shirt. Preparedness says I wouldn't even call it mediocre. And of course, preparedness is in the UK. And Jay Sky has joined us. Thanks for popping in today, Jay. As we roll around to the next topic here. Saw this coming a mile away. Told you this is what was going to happen. I'm no prophet, but I can guess. Told you this was going to happen when we first talked about this story. Squad Democrat, and this is Fox News, but you can find this anywhere. Squad Democratic Representative Jamal Bowman, fire alarm footage released after the guilty plea, and he's a guilty plea, and he's a bold-faced liar. Bold-faced liar. And before even reading the article, I can tell you he pled guilty to a misdemeanor for which he is not going to be charged and still has not admitted to doing it. Basically, he pled guilty to, quote, a lapse in judgment. A lapse in judgment. Although the film footage, and I think this is the film footage on here, and I'm going to play it for you, you can see what he does. And it's exactly what I speculated he did when they only had photographs. He runs up on the doors. He grabs both signs off without even testing the door, grabs the sign off, pulls the alarm, turns around and walks away. He did it on purpose, and he knew what he was doing. Couple more comments here really quick. Zolo says, YouTube buffer, shake my head. YouTube is being screwy again. They're being squirrely. And Alina is here. Thanks for joining us today, Alina. As we move along here. Here we go. The footage. Oh, hold on. Pause. I'm going to play this for you so that you can see. Can you all see that? I don't know how big it is. Let me try to expand it. There we go. For those of you who can see, I'm going to go ahead and play it. Here he comes. This is the thing. Here's the one sign, and that says, they're closed, whatever, doors are closed. And then these two signs, those were the signs that said something akin to, closed on the Saturday. If for an emergency, push the handle, alarm will sound, door will unlock for 30 seconds, something like that. And he's going to run up, grab both signs, pull the fire alarm, and then run away. And here we go. Here he comes. Take the sign, take the other sign, pull the alarm, leave. Let's play that again. Let's run that one more time in case anybody missed it. The actual footage released now because the hearing is over. Take the sign, pull the alarm, walk away. Bastard. Bastard. Now here we go. The footage of, quote, Squad Democrat Representative Jamal Bowman of New York pulling a fire alarm in a House office building was released Thursday after he accepted a plea deal on misdemeanor charges for the incident. Fox News obtained security footage from the September 30th showing Bowman attempting to open two doors in the Cannon House office building. Bowman appears to approach the doors and try the right door, taking a red alarm sign with him from the entryway. Now, he didn't really kind of try the door. He put his foot against it. Now, he did like kick the door with his right foot, but he didn't really try to open it. The congressman then appeared to try to open the left door while knocking over the second alarm sign. I don't even give him that much credibility. I don't think he was trying to open it. Bowman then turned and pulled the fire alarm before walking off camera, still holding the alarm sign from the first door. And I don't know what he did with it, because according to reports, he passed by 7 police officers, security officers in the building after this incident and didn't have the sign and did not speak to them. Because he could have said, hey, that fire alarm, that was me, man. I did that by mistake. Can you turn that off? Bowman said that he didn't mean to pull the fire alarm, and he had done so while in a rush to go and vote. The House at the time was debating and voting on a stopgap bill to fund the government temporarily and invert a shutdown. The Squad Democrat told reporters outside the D.C. Superior Court on Thursday, hell no, he didn't mean to pull the alarm. What I did was against D.C. law, Bowman said. As I said from the very beginning, I wasn't trying to disrupt any congressional proceedings. I'm glad the investigation yielded that. Bowman pulled the fire alarm ahead of a crucial vote. We all know that. However, the newly released footage seems to throw water on his argument. Also, if you noticed in the footage, if he thought that alarm was going to open the door, when he turned and looked at the alarm and pulled it and then went up the stairs, he never turned back to look at the doors to see if they were opened. That never happened. But he says it was a lapse in judgment. He pled guilty to a misdemeanor, and he will not face any charges. So, and let me see. Nature Nerd says, in his defense of pulling the fire alarm, most of Congress is drunk on a daily basis. Gary said he can see it. Okay. Alina says, so they know who pulled the alarm, but not how Coke got in the White House. Oh, they know how it got there. Urban says, the Great Bowman Insurrection. John says, what's up with these New York people? Jay says he didn't mean to. It was blatantly on purpose. Yes, it was. I believe that. Helter says, I've noticed how the media covers for Bowman. They didn't ask him the key questions that boxes him in. The only reason he would take down the 2 warning signs is to cover for the crime. Why'd you take the sign? If you thought that was the alarm, why didn't you turn back? Why didn't you follow the instructions on the sign to open that door? And how come you pass 7 Secret Service police or whoever they are, because they counted it in the court, it was brought up, you passed 7 officers, did not have the sign with you, and did not speak to them. You could have told any one of them. If it was me, speaking for myself, I would have been, man, that alarm, that's my fault. Can we get that turned off before the fire department shows up or something? I don't want to waste their time, whatever. I didn't mean to do that. I'm sorry. Something to give some level of credibility to what you're talking about. And this really offends me. And the reason that it offends me is because I know if it was me in that building, John Q. Citizen, took those signs, pulled that alarm, I would have been sitting in jail all the way up until the hearing because the bail would have been so high I wouldn't have been able to get out. And I would have had some shitty court-appointed attorney telling me that I needed to take a plea deal for a felony charge and face 3 to 5 years in prison. But this jackass gets a slap on the wrist for a misdemeanor and walks away, which is what I predicted he would happen when we did the live like a month ago talking about this. They're gonna give him a sloppy misdemeanor charge, and he's gonna walk away and laugh it off, and he's not gonna admit anything, which he didn't. Only that he pulled it, not why. He doesn't admit a damn thing, gets away with it. I would have been sitting in jail on a $25,000 bond that I can't pay, given a court-appointed attorney, be like, yeah, you better take the plea deal. I'm doing the best I can for you. You're facing 3 to 5. That's what would have happened if it was you or me. Dragon says we were shown only a small portion of the clip of Bowman checking the doors and not pulling the alarm. The bit-by-bit delivery on this video to the American people seems deliberate and telling. Zolo says I would have been thrown in jail with the key thrown away. Gary says, but he's black. That covers everything, doesn't it? I don't know. I don't know about that. And Sean says this is a good example of why Trump kept talking about draining the swamp. I know it. Merv says, I bet there's some relative of a federal worker that got this cleaning contract. Oh, are you talking about the laundry in New York? Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there's some nepotism going on with those multi-million-dollar contracts for laundry. But yeah, this, again, that just makes me sick, and that's the reason why. Now, it says Bowman, 47, turned himself into D.C. Superior Court on Thursday morning ahead of his arraignment and pleaded guilty to causing the false alarm. So it's funny. He didn't even have to turn him in. He didn't even have to turn himself in until the day of the hearing. He didn't even have to turn himself in until the day of the hearing. And it says, as part of his plea deal, Bowman is required to write a letter of apology to the U.S. Capitol Police and pay a $1,000 fine. I'm sorry. I made a mistake and accidentally pulled the fire alarm. My bad. Forgive me, yo. Word. And I wonder if that fine will actually get paid. Just because they order him to pay it doesn't mean he's going to. My feelings are hurt. Unbelievable. Jay says with the bail reforms, you wouldn't even get bail. Do they have bail reforms? I bet you I would have been exempt from that bail reform if they have it in D.C. John says build a wall around the District of Columbia in New York. Yeah, I'm telling you, we need to go full escape from New York. We need Snake Plissken. That's who we need. We need more men like Snake Plissken. Write a letter of apology to the U.S. Capitol Police. It was the Capitol Police. That's who was in the building. But he passed 7 of them and said nothing. Said nothing. And I want to know where that sign went. That sign's got to be somewhere. Maybe he put it in his backpack. He probably took it home as a trophy. Bastard. Frickin' bastard. I'm absolutely, completely offended by that entire story. I really am. That bothers me because I know how bad it would be for anyone else, myself included. And in the stupid news of the week, stupid news of the day, and this comes from CBS News, McDonald's is ditching the McFlurry spoon for a more sustainable option. And I'll tell you why I'm reading this story. There's a McFlurry full of M&Ms. It says the iconic McDonald's McFlurry spoon, which has spurred years of questions because of its unique hollow handle, is on its way out, the fast food chain said Thursday. It's got a hollow handle because it attaches to the machine. That's why, if you ever wondered. McDonald's will start serving up McFlurries with the same type of spoon the chain serves with its sundaes, which are smaller and use less plastic than the McFlurry spoons. This small change will help reduce single-use plastic waste in restaurants while giving customers the same delicious McFlurries they know and love when the machine works, McDonald's said. That's a win-win in our book. Let me wipe up my tears. The current McFlurry spoon has a hollow handle that attaches to the McFlurry machine McDonald's uses to mix McFlurries, so it can be used as a spindle to mix the frozen treat. Many customers have tried to use the handle as a straw over the years. No, it's not a straw. I don't know who needs to hear this, but the McFlurry spoon is not a straw, the chain wrote on X, formerly known as Twitter, the platform formerly known as Twitter. Oh, they said it. In one of its many reminders about the spoon's design, McDonald's restaurants are transitioning to a reusable spindle for its McFlurry machines that will be swapped out and cleaned after each McFlurry is made. So what they're doing is what they're doing is doing something that is cheaper for the company, using instead of a disposable unit that doubles as a spoon, making smaller spoons and using a dedicated unit for the spindle for mixing the McFlurry is a cheaper option than what they're already doing. But if we're going to save money by using a cheaper option, we may as well virtue signal at the same time. That's what this is them virtue signaling, doing something that is cheaper in the long run. At least they're not going to use like a cardboard spoon. Oh my God. This just cracks me up. Unbelievable. Jack says it's like these idiots who demand paper straws then drink it out of a plastic cup. Well, you know what's funny about the paper straws? I could go on and on about paper straws. Remember, I used to work for Frito-Lay, okay? A lot of you know this. We were required to wear gloves when we worked with the boxes because long-term exposure to the cardboard can make you sick. And there's chemicals that are used in the manufacturing of the cardboard that absorb into your skin, and it can cause health problems. So you have to wear gloves when you're handling, if you're using boxes all day long, you work in box drop or you work in a folding station, you have to wear gloves for your own safety. So cardboard, like most paper products, is manufactured in a way, and this is, by the way, one of the reasons why there is a wax coating on the inside of paper cups. It's toxic, but they want you to drink through one. They want you to drink through a cardboard straw and ingest those toxins. Plus, the straw tastes like shit. Cardboard tastes horrible, and it collapses, and it comes wrapped in a cellophane wrapper, which defeats the entire purpose of using a paper damn straw in the first place. Nature Nerd says the McFlurry spoon is the best, never broke, and very durable. Yeah, it's classic. Urban says, I love the McFlurry spoon. I still miss the old styrofoam containers for burgers. And remember the giant breakfast disposable tray with a cover? Those were the good old days. I do remember those. And then Jay says, yeah, McDonald's, that's not what everybody's worried about with you. Maybe focus on important things. Nope, virtue signal. Helter says, next step, terminate the contract with Taylor Swift and get some soft serve machines so the employees can maintain themselves. Dragon says, in Canada, they've switched to wooden spoons, which really isn't great. Yeah, wooden spoons taste crappy too. They're not great for ice cream as they aren't as smooth and you get a nice taste of wood. Preparedness says McDonald's is chav food. And Mark says, wow, that's crazy. And Armored wants to know why Taylor Swift is so popular. Because Hollywood told you that she is, and you believe it. Well, maybe not you specifically, but most people believe what they are told. And so, oh, she's so great, and her concerts are so wonderful, and she's doing concerts for her fans. Never mind the fact that tickets are as much as $9,000 a piece. Yeah, she's really doing it for the fans. She's popular because the establishment says that she is. Just like Andrew Dice Clay was popular so long as the establishment said that he was. Remember, at one point, he was filling football stadiums while being on pay-per-view. And then they decided they didn't need him anymore, and he couldn't fill a bar room. Anyway, real quick here. Mark says exactly, now Swift is going to be a billionaire. Yeah, she's a billionaire. She's reached that status because they told you she's popular. And with that, I got to get wrapped up. We're at the top of the hour. Again, there is Miss Granny Smith sleeping it off in the chair. And that is what a carrot looks like when you grow it yourself. Nice fat sucker, isn't it? Anyways, thanks for joining us today. Hope you got something out of the conversation, everyone. Again, this is Coffee Talk. We are at Coffee Talk Live on YouTube, as well as Prepper University on YouTube, or at Coffee Talk Chat on Twitter, and Fistful of Radio, fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta. So do find me there. And with that, I will go ahead and sign out. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you Monday.